Hello and welcome to Batcast 66, the podcast where every week we watch an episode of the 1966 Batman television show and talk about it. Today, we're talking about Holy Rat Race. It's the second part of the introductory episode to Fall Space. And I think our research has shown this is our last Fall Space appearance in this show.
Yeah, I think other than maybe Zelda the Great, False Face has appeared in the least amount of Batman media, period, so far. Yeah. I mean, not counting, the Molehill Gang as, a unit, but, as far as, the main guest villains go.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he's going up against, the Joker and stuff, but...
Yeah, tough crowd. And, we never get to see this actor's face.
We did, but we didn't realize that. We didn't even know it was the actor.
Tough cookies, I guess. I guess we'll talk about our final thoughts and feelings on the guy at the end of this.
Yeah, hopefully I have some final thoughts and feelings. Because like I said in the first episode, I'm not sure if I like this guy or not.
Well, let's jump right into it.
Let's get into it.
There's a train coming. We don't want to be late. Batman and Robin, they're cemented to some train tracks.
With their cellophane wrap.
Yeah. They can't break free. It's too hard. Meanwhile, Alfred is dusting in the Batcave, listening to Culture Hour or something on the radio.
Yeah.
And by radio, we mean intergalactic
recorder. Yeah. Which I alluded to because last episode, because when it stuck out to me, blew my mind because this is 1966. We didn't even land on the moon for another 3 years. And there's an intergalactic recorder. Nothing humanity's done is even left the inner solar system yet at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are probably reasons Batman would want to keep an eye on space, though.
I get that, but intergalactic. We barely have a concept of how big the Milky Way galaxy is, let alone what's even beyond that.
Batman knows, or he has some recordings anyway.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. Intergalactic recorder is ridiculous in year of our Lord 2023.
Well, as we come to find out, he's sharing this world with Themyscirans and
Superman and stuff.
We'll see if it ever turns up again.
Yeah, so Alfred's listening to his program, and it's interrupted with, a thing with program, things would do where, hey, I've got a message for this goes out to people from whoever, happy birthday or anything, but it's a coded message. Do you have what it says written down?
It goes out to anyone who might know Batman and Robin, and it says, many are called, but 2 are chosen. Be receptive. Did you try to figure out what this means?
No. I was more confused. Why would Falseface try to kill them? And they said the train's coming in 5 minutes. And we saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, why would he even put out that message? What could it mean? Because Alfred just calls Batman on his wrist-mounted radio or whatever. And I mean, it's kind of a funny exchange that they have. Where Batman's basically I can't ask you to do things as we respect you have mutual respect for each other, but I would implore you to explode the radio in my thing.
Yeah, so basically Alfred would overload the transceiver, which would cause the bat radio in Batman's glove to explode.
Which doesn't injure him though. It's through the cement or whatever they have.
Yeah, the plastic cement.
Yeah.
But yeah, that message was so weird. It really sounded like some David Lynch.
Yeah, I can see David Lynch influence on that, even though they wouldn't have had a David Lynch influence. But
yeah, Alfred does as he's asked. Batman gets a hand free, and he's able to free himself with the tools in his utility belt. And he and Robin escape being ran over by a train.
Just barely, and kind of a funny gag. We see the people, a couple on the train, they're reading the newspaper, and then one puts down, I was like, hey, was that Batman and Robin? And they're like, oh, yes, they must be chasing crime wherever it could be. And he's like, good on them. And then they go back to their paper. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it was.
It's an intentional joke. Like, this show is a comedy in its DNA.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah. Like, we're not just laughing ironically at the show.
It's trying to make you laugh.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could probably think of another show that does this as well. It's very good about like engaging children on one level and engaging adults on a completely separate level.
Yeah. It's a show for everybody.
Yeah, it's a family show. Like,
yeah,
it's very entertaining.
Yeah, so they're obviously free now.
We cut back to Falseface's headquarters. Falseface has Blaze tied up and blames her for Batman and Robin getting away.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, because it's not revealed yet, but she's the person that put in the message. But she went to the radio station and handed him a check. And like, again, all this had to happen within 5 minutes, and why didn't Falseface stop her?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the timeline just doesn't say.
Like, the Deus Ex Machina on these things is usually pretty big ass pull, but like, this is one of the worst in that regards.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So I will say, and the last episode too, the first part of this story, so much is going on in them.
Yeah.
And I think this was kind of done as some kind, like a two birds, one stone. Like, it's the Deus Ex Machina, but also it gives Batman and Robin a clue later in the episode.
Yeah.
And because they're trying to hit two birds with one stone, they kind of trip on themselves.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. It probably could have been done a little bit better. I don't know. I don't have a solution that's better at the moment, so I don't want to come down on it too hard.
It would require like restructuring the entire episode, and that's not really
what we do here.
We're here to just look at what we got.
I mean, maybe we'll eventually do an episode where, like, of this podcast, maybe we break our Batman 66 story.
Wouldn't it be fun to do like an audio story?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, so it just turned to be the year 2023. So in 3 years, this show turns 60 years old, and that might be a fun kind of project for that year.
Ooh,
we break and write an episode over a course of a couple episodes of the podcast, and then maybe we can get like a couple of friends on, and we can record it.
Yeah, that would be let's consider that.
Yeah, we'll consider that at some point. If that's something people want to hear, let us know. Because I also don't know what villains I'd want to pull. So,
well, we'll see. We have plenty of time.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not saying we could do it better, but it ultimately isn't important. You know, that's not what the show's about. And
yeah, it's still fun, but yeah, don't think too hard.
But, you know, we're writers by hobby and by trade, so like, I like to think about things in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's you know, you write and produce comic books with your wife, and like, it's good to think about stories, you know, in these ways when you see them.
Definitely.
It makes you know.
Sometimes it might ruin something, but I can't help but be analytical about.
Yeah, exactly. And this doesn't ruin the story for me. It's just like, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, Falseface, he's ticked off. He will not allow anybody to be false to him. We cut back to the Batcave, and Alfred is filling Batman and Robin in on the message that played over the radio. We then cut to police headquarters, and Chief O'Hara just comes stumbling in.
Mm-hmm.
They found him tied up and abandoned somewhere.
Yeah. So then I see them the jigs up with the Falseface O'Hara. I was like, they didn't do much with that. And I was
didn't do anything.
Yeah. And I was disappointed in that. Because that was one of the cool hooks we still had going into this episode. Is that Chief O'Hara is the bad guy.
Yeah, and I was kind of wondering, like, again, like being suspicious of everyone. Is this false face again?
Yeah.
But Chief O'Hara is talking normally now.
Yeah, he's not doing his like false face, like stiff face, like mask thing.
Yeah, which was very weird, but glad they did it. At the Batcave again, Batman and Robin are watching the news. Chief O'Hara, they learn that he was captured and has since been found. But in watching the broadcast, they get the idea to trace the broadcast that Alfred had heard,
Mm-hmm.
get to the bottom of that Lynchian riddle, and they go to Gotham City Radio. The program manager, Leo Gore, said the call was anonymous, and he assumed it was just some religious nonsense. To which Batman replies that religion shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yeah.
What do we think Batman's religious beliefs are?
I mean, I think he might be agnostic. He's a man. He's too much of a man of science. But regardless of what he believes, he's nice and respectful of everybody. That he wouldn't outwardly mock you for being religious of any kind, as long as it's not harmful to anybody.
Yeah,
I think is the healthy mindset to have,
for sure.
But I gotta assume he's like, a wasp, just because comes from old money.
Yeah, and this is the 60s.
Yeah.
Leo Gore does remember one peculiar thing about the person who left him the message. And that's that she had green hair.
Yeah, I don't think we saw a green wig with Blaze, but she's changed her wig, and it's always an outrageous hair color a bunch of times.
Yeah, definitely. She always pops. So
was it green when she left Batman and Robin, or because my brain was like bluish?
Yeah, I don't think it was green. I don't think we see the green wig.
Yeah, but again, it was within 5 minutes of the last scene.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe the wig was green, and because of recording techniques, it showed up more blue.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even have to be stuff from the 60s. Sometimes people call things like red or orange. I'm like, that's yellow, like.
Yeah. I remember, I feel like it was like the Ninja Turtle arcade cabinet.
Yeah, Mikey's like yellow.
Yellow bandana.
Yeah.
It could also be that this scene was recorded before they had shot the other scene, and
they just didn't
truly intended to give her something green.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
And he also, this guy's such an idiot.
False face?
No.
Chief O'Hara?
Program manager.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. It's funny that I went to Chief O'Hara before I went to the program manager.
I mean, he's also good. But the program manager says, yeah, when she paid me, she said that you could bank on this being false. And it's just like, why would you accept money from anyone who says that to you?
I know.
And the check she used to pay him was a check from Gotham National.
Yeah.
Which is the bank that Falseface made a play for in the first.
Yeah. So Batman realizes that's a clue, and he's like, I'll make sure you get paid, as they leave.
Yeah.
He can do that. He just has to borrow money from Alfred again.
God, Alfred, give me $1. So Batman and Robin go to police headquarters again. I feel like there's a lot of set changes in these stories.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of locations.
Yeah, we're jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
And in a funny scene, while they're trying to break down what Falseface's plan is, he's like, okay, what's in a bank? And Chief O'Hara says, money. And Batman says, correct. And you see Chief O'Hara like smile at himself and like nod.
I know, it's like he's a first grader,
but wow, you have to hand it to the actor.
Yeah.
Because that's just so good.
I mean, I think the guy who plays Chief O'Hara is fine. It's just the character as written when we criticize him.
Yeah, for sure. But I just thought that was such a fun little bit to throw in.
Yeah.
Stafford Rep is the actor's name. Shout out to you, Stafford. I assume you're dead.
Most people from the show are dead. Yeah.
So they deduce that Falseface plans to make counterfeit money and replace the money in the bank with that.
Yeah, and I guess he takes the real money too.
Yeah. So he's not
Oh, you
only
know
getting
what?
rich, he's causing chaos.
That makes sense with the line of kind of we didn't touch on in the first episode. When we first meet Blaze, he's like, "You're gonna something about like you can't prove that he was gonna make a crime." So if he just swaps the money out, it doesn't look like he took anything.
Yeah.
Because he is printing it on real, like banknote money. Which case, why doesn't he just make that the money and then just have that?
Well, I guess the serial numbers
I
aren't
guess.
in the database.
Yeah.
If you get caught that way, you're still in trouble. We cut to Gotham National, and it's closing time. Falseface is disguised as the night guard, and once everyone leaves, he calls out his
The
gang,
counterfeit crew. Yeah.
the counterfeit crew, who have just been hiding in the bank all day.
Yeah, they've just been like in a closet or something, right?
We get their names here. So we have Brinks, Burns, and Pinkerton.
Yeah. Which like in the credits they're like credited as like midget and like stuff, which I know is not the correct term to use. It's an outdated term. And I believe that this version of Batman would want to use what the people would like to be called. So that's why I called him a little person, even though that's not the credited name.
Huh.
Yeah, it's the first time we get like people names for them. Yeah. And not just like tall guy. You know?
Yeah. They each seem to have like a specialty, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a real quick scene, and it's the only time we see them like use these skills. But the bank vault is closed off with like a barred gate.
Yeah, it's like a prison cell.
So Brinks cuts the bars to the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And then Burns, who's the little person, is able to slip under the electric eye.
Yeah.
And
cut that wire. Yeah.
And then Pinkerton is the one who gets into the safe. But the safe opens and
there's the dynamic duo. So I'm extremely claustrophobic, and like the idea of like being in a bank vault scares the hell out of me.
I didn't know this about you.
I hate small spaces.
Yeah, I guess it all tracks. I've never seen you in one.
Yeah, I know. That's why you haven't.
I mean, I've not seen most people in a small space, but
yeah. It doesn't come up in day-to-day life, but like when you see stuff like this, I think about it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of phobias. That's my biggest one. I'm very claustrophobic.
Oh.
Like even when like desks were like clumped together too close in like grade school, like it would bother me.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, we met when we were teenagers, and I had to be like cool and tough, so I didn't bring it up ever.
Yeah.
And then as adults, it's not a situation you find yourself in unless you want to be.
When I met you as a teenager, you wore a leather jacket and you smoked 2 packs of cigarettes every day.
Yeah, I was a bad guy like Dick Grayson.
Yeah. Glad to see you've turned over a new leaf.
Exactly.
Batman and Robin. They're in the safe. We get a fight scene here. And then I think for the first time ever, the police appear and join the fight.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. Again, because this was like a trap. Batman and Robin knew this is what they're going to do, so I think they had that ready. Because like the police there, they caught them all in the act, you know?
Yeah. So Batman and Robin are kind of occupied with the counterfeit crew, and Falseface goes to make his escape, but the cops block his way. The counterfeit crew kind of show their stuff here.
This is like the third time that we get to see them get arrested.
It is weird, right? Because
I can assume off camera when Falseface's Chief O'Hare kind of lets him out.
But I do feel like in that alleyway fight, there was more than just these.
Oh, yeah, no, there was. But I feel like after the fact, he could have done that. He was in a position of power.
So Falseface runs off camera and is chased by another cop, who then returns and finally helps Chief O'Hara by
Yeah.
like grabbing Burns and like throwing him over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And then he just runs away.
Yeah.
And you see the real police officer stripped down to his underwear. And yeah, that was Falseface.
And he got away.
He sure did.
This is actually a pretty explosive start to the beginning of the episode.
It's pretty wild. This
Yeah,
episode.
now that we're like thinking about it and recapping, like the rest of this is like all like a fight, like all like a chase slash fight scene. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty action packed. I had a good time.
Yeah.
Falseface makes his escape. He heads to Bioscope Studios. Inside of his truck is Blaze, who's like handcuffed.
Yeah, she's like handcuffed to like a pole or something in it.
And I don't know why he has kept her alive.
Yeah. I don't know. Because she's
like he has no qualms with murdering.
Yeah.
Maybe just kill her.
Yeah. He doesn't need any more information out of her.
Yeah.
Not that I want to see her get killed, but you know.
Yeah, it just like
he's a bad dude.
He is a bad dude. Batman and Robin are chasing him. The studio has all these like movie sets. Like there's kind of like a gritty warehouse district that turns into a cowboy set.
And I'm assuming this is just because they like have access to like movie sets. Like it's movie backlots essentially they're going through.
Yeah. I would assume so as well.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Star Trek thing.
Well, yeah, they do episodes based on like what they have access to.
It's like, oh, on this planet, culture, it's exactly like American culture, except it stops here.
Yeah, it's exactly like Chicago gangster stuff. There's a book there that's about that. And like, don't get me wrong, I love those episodes of that show, but and this doesn't. I'm not saying this ruins this for me, but it's like I can't help it. Like that's my, like that's the reason that exists.
Of course.
Yeah.
The three goons who are not in the truck, but have somehow made it to this studio backlot, spring a net over the Batmobile. Or I guess they drop it in front of the Batmobile, and Batman and Robin can't advance. I really like this scene because like Batman kind of like plays the Uno reverse card.
Yeah.
And like uses his like heat ray to break the net in a way that it falls on top of the copyright, or what are they called?
The counterfeit crew. Yeah.
The copyright crew.
That's what they're going to send after us after we write an episode of the show.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the end of them, finally.
Yeah.
Even though they've been arrested and captured numerous times.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin continue the chase, and Falseface parks his car in a way that he could see them coming. And he rolls up his window, and he has like a targeting sight on his window and pushes a button, and these grenade launchers kind of pop out of the roof of his truck. Yeah. And once they get into range, he kills them.
Yeah, and like there's only like a wireframe version of the Batmobile left.
Yeah, which
it looks like an unresed polygon.
I guess that's how physics works in this world, because Falseface thinks he's victorious. But Batman and Robin show up in the Batmobile, and he's like, how did this happen? Batman had prepared an inflatable replica of the Batmobile just for this situation.
Yeah. Which they said earlier, we're going to out Falseface. I assume that was like because they wanted to encourage him to continue to do his crime. I assume that was just so like they could catch him at the bank. But that also kind of refers to this.
Yeah, that's true.
They have him cornered. He's in the Falsemobile or whatever they call it. They said the term earlier. I don't remember what it was. I did not write it down. He's like, bye, and pushes a button and explodes out the back on a motorcycle.
Yeah,
Which I don't know, is that the first time that's happened in like Batman in
I think
general?
so.
Or like whatever vehicle unit has a secret motorcycle in it and he can get away?
Yeah, I think the only other motorcycle we've seen is the police motorcycle that was chasing Mr. Freeze's ice cream truck.
I was about to say, didn't we just see it where the Batmobile had a thing in it? But that was Batman Returns, our Christmas episode. I
Yeah,
realize now.
gosh, all these continuities are blending together.
Yeah, because like they do that in the Dark Knight, obviously. Like it becomes a thing, but I think this might be the first time it's happened for in like a Batman thing. Anyway, it's cool. He comes flying out of the back of that thing somehow because he's
Yeah.
facing a completely different direction out of nowhere. So they free. That's what's called Zelda the Great. Oh my god, they free Blaze, and they're about to go to the Batmobile to chase him. She's like, "No, it's going to be quicker if you cut through here on foot," which kind of makes sense. It's since they can cut on foot, they can cut through the set, like the sets and stuff.
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
keep cornering him, but he's like eluding them for quite a bit.
Yeah,
And then they make like a tripwire with the bat rope.
yeah, and that like he doesn't get hit by it, but he sees it and like can't
Take
stop quick enough and
the
kind of
fall.
falls off his bike. Yeah, in a way that like the stuntman won't get hurt.
Yeah. And then there's a foot chase.
Yeah, through like the old West town.
Yeah. And they pass this cowboy.
Yeah, I don't know if I love or hate this scene.
I thought it was pretty funny because
In a vacuum, it's funny. If they were fighting like the Joker, I would have thought it was hilarious. But because they're specifically chasing a guy who can change what he looks like into anything, why would this one random dude that's just there not be immediately suspicious that they've never seen before?
they are on a movie backlot.
But like they're not shooting a movie at the time.
But you did see people there. Like earlier during the chase, you saw like a cowboy running.
They run past this guy. They're like, "We're looking for a criminal or whatever," and the camera like pans in on him. It's like, "Oh, maybe I'll join the posse or whatever." Like he's in character. Like
he's like
they actually wrote into like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like
Yeah, he like joined. He's like, "Oh, sounds fun. I'll join in. I'll head him off at the pass."
And he goes to leave, and then Robin's like, "Wait, not so fast." False face.
Well, he jumps in front of him, and he's like, "Pass intercepted." False face.
Yeah,
I did think it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the chase continues. Batman punches him through like a window on one of the sets.
Yeah, which is what happens in cowboy movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon, who has joined the foot chase with Chief O'Hara.
Yeah, I think some of the cops have been starting to show up at this point.
Yeah.
During the chase.
The commissioner goes into this building facade after him and then comes like stumbling out like, "Oh, he got away."
Yeah. He's got like a handkerchief or something, right?
Yeah, he's like dabbing the sweat from his brow.
Yeah.
Batman's like, "Oh, why would a right-handed commissioner be holding his handkerchief in his left hand?"
They realize again, they set that up where it's like the small details are what gives False Face away.
Yeah. And this
that's a bit of a leap, but whatever.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But this kind of reminded me of is it a scroll story or chameleon story where like Nick Fury's eye patch is
I know what you're talking about. It's specifically a Spider-Man the Animated Series thing. Because in that chameleons thing was like a holographic thing. Like if he sees something, he could become it. And they set up early in the episode that they screwed up Nick Fury's photo in the newspaper where it's backwards. And that's what he used it for his disguise of Nick Fury. And then we realized like, oh, his eye patch is on the wrong eye.
Yep, that's it.
Since Nick Fury's an asymmetrical character, you could do that. But I knew exactly what you were talking about when you started to bring it up. Yeah,
it reminded me of that.
When I was a kid, I thought that was like such a brilliant play. Like they realized that, and I was like, "Oh my god, you're so smart."
It is pretty clever considering the way Spider-Man usually beats his enemies is by like
webbing them,
swinging into them. Yeah,
because he wasn't allowed to punch people in that show. Pick up people and throw them. That's all they like do.
So they rip the fake Gordon mask off of Falseface and they finally got him.
Yep.
Falseface, if this show wasn't completely episodic,
Yeah.
I'd almost like wonder if this was setting something up.
Yeah.
Falseface says, "You may yet meet your match." And just like, just a obvious threat, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like
I
sounds like something's coming for him.
I bet there was probably like a standards and practices thing that was like akin to like the Comics Code Authority where like the bad guys can't get away, like they can't, because I would have thought it would be cool if like Bossface like slipped into a crowd and like we don't know when or where he'll show up again.
Oh,
But
I
we
mean,
foiled his plan for now. But I think that there probably was some sort of stipulation where like they have to get arrested at the end of the episode.
well, Riddler didn't get arrested at the end of the second episode.
I mean, I guess he was presumed dead. Like,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, like he was soundly defeated.
An equal death is equal to being arrested in the United States of America.
Yeah, that's how it works anyway.
So yeah, Falseface, he's defeated. We cut to Wayne Manor after this, and I assume it's sometime later,
Yeah.
like an unspecified amount of time. Because Aunt Harriet's there, probably the most useful she's ever been. Also, I'm real sorry. I talk a lot of shit on Aunt Harriet. She's whatever.
Yeah, she just doesn't add a lot to the proceedings.
Yeah.
I do know she is from the comics. She did not originate in the show, which is what everyone assumes.
Interesting.
Yeah, she was in the comics 2 years earlier. They introduced her.
So what's her deal?
It's the same thing. Just like she was supposed to be Dick Grayson's guardian, but like she couldn't handle it, so it was just too hard. She's old. Like in the comics, she was a lot older, and so Bruce Wayne kind of comes in and was like, "I'll take him as my ward, and I'll take care of you too." And that's just kind of what happens.
Interesting. So was she like crisis out of existence then?
They just stopped using her, and I don't think anyone noticed. And then yeah, I'm sure when Crisis happened, like they redid everyone's origins. So I think she just stopped being in continuity at all.
Poor Aunt Harriet.
Yeah.
When you put it that way.
But she doesn't, story-wise, she doesn't need to stick around.
Yeah, definitely not.
I get it, especially when you're trying to like clean things up and make it more simple and streamlined.
For sure.
Which is what Crisis was supposed to be doing.
And I think it kind of succeeded.
Yeah, I think it kind of succeeded.
Until it didn't.
Yeah, until it stopped. But that's a bigger DC problem in general.
Well, in this episode, she tells Bruce and Dick that a reformed criminal is coming over to see them.
Yeah.
And so this is why I believe like some time had to have passed. Because
some time had to have passed, yeah.
Because they're automatically like, oh, who could it be? Is it Penguin, the Joker?
Yeah.
Which, wow, would love to have seen either of those.
Yeah.
But as I'm sure everyone has figured out, it's Blaze. And she just wanted to come and thank Mr. Wayne for being one of two people responsible for her rehabilitation.
Yeah.
The second being Batman.
Little does she know it's the same person.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Think of it. Just one man keeping the whole city together.
That's why they wanted him to be mayor.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Blaze, even though she was a redhead she had a red wig.
Yeah, they think they showed her without her wig on when they first went to the lair. She's like a brunette.
Yeah. And she's a brunette here. But, while she was helping Batman and Robin chase down Bossface, she had the red wig on. I was like, oh, is this proto Batgirl?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she's not going to stick around in Gotham. She's going to New Zealand.
Yeah, their brother's a farmer there or something, she said.
Yeah, her brother's a shepherd.
Shepherd, that's what it was.
So she's going to start a new life there. Sounds good for her.
I mean, shit, dude, I kind of want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Well, I could. I don't have a brother that's a shepherd there.
I mean, you might. Did you ever ask your parents?
No, to be fair, I haven't. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that
lucky.
when we're done this.
And yeah, that brings us to the end of Holy Rat Race.
Yeah, again, these titles are so silly when you don't have them as a couplet. Although a race did happen.
A race sure did happen.
Um, what did you think in general?
In general, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I liked these episodes better than both Mad Hatter and Mr. Freeze.
Okay. Definitely more happens in this than happened in Mr. Freeze and Mad Hatter. These are contenders for my least favorite so far. It has a lot of ideas I thought could be really cool, but they don't do anything with them, so I was more frustrated watching it. Like it is fun, like the chasing in the second half is really fun. Like it's got stuff I like. I don't dislike False Face. I do think there are other villains that have kind of taken his shtick and done it better. Like we already mentioned Mysterio and Chameleon before, but like even like a Batman villain that just wears like a mask, like Black Mask is more interesting. You know, like Clayface is a more interesting shape shifting Batman bad guy where it's without disguises and stuff. Granted, he's got a way more supernatural bent than Falseface does, but I don't know. It just didn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I think I had fun, and I think it's because this is a very action heavy episode.
Yeah. I
Um,
I really don't this really cemented me like I'm really sick of the female goon having a face turn trope in the series. It's because it's happened almost every single story. And I was just like, Blaze was kind of cool and interesting in the beginning, and as soon as she meets Batman, she immediately changes and like she becomes way less interesting in the second half.
I agree, but I do think it was fun to kind of see because we always get that change at the end. And I thought it was cool to see that change like play out a little bit longer.
I think that was better handled in the last episodes where Joker does the stuff with the school. I liked that it was a classmate of Dick Grayson. She got to have more screen time and personality throughout it, and like she wasn't a bad guy, you know.
But even so, we only see her in the very last scene as a
Yeah,
reformed, like she reforms off screen. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, so does like everybody, but I don't know because like what she does, other than all right, granted she does save Batman and Robin's life, but like then she's just this damsel in distress the rest of the story, you know.
That's very true. But
Uh,
she does like she's like, yo, like get out of the Batmobile. Like
Well, I thought it might have been cooler, like based on like because she's introduced as kind of like this like fiery daredevil kind of character, not fiery as a pun, but like more like you know she immediately jumps out a window and like does these cool things. Like I think if she had a more active hand, like in stopping False Face, I think that would have been really cool using some of the skills we saw previously, or maybe because she also has disguising skills. Like maybe if she tricked him into thinking like, oh,
yeah, like out Faust him.
yeah, I think that would have been more interesting than
That
just.
that would definitely would have been better.
But that's one of those things that's like, as I was watching this episode, I was thinking of stuff like that, and that kept taking me out of what was happening. This wasn't bad. Like I was entertained throughout it, and there was stuff in it I liked that I wouldn't necessarily want to lose. But like it was one of those things where I could see a better story with these characters as it was happening.
Yeah. I don't
And
know.
and that's not an exclusive problem I have with this episode or this show. It's just sometimes I think if we didn't have a podcast and I wasn't taking notes, I wouldn't think about this stuff as much.
Definitely not.
By the nature of us doing that and having things I want to write down to discuss. Like I think about this. I'm much more analytical and critical than I normally would be on a casual watch. But you know, even the worst episode of the season so far has still been fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think I liked Blaze. I think even though it didn't do all the things you just said, which
yeah,
definitely would have been better, I think she's more interesting
yeah,
than the other female henchmen who do that heel turn.
yeah,
Because like this, it was not prompted by the downfall of the supervillain.
yeah,
Like Falseface was still very much at large.
Yeah.
She had the change of heart.
No, I do appreciate that it is different. Like you said, it's just like it's one of those things. If it wasn't like in like every story,
Well, and but
I wouldn't mind it.
even in this story though, like it's a little more complex because like you see her at the police station, kind of like having that change of heart, and it ends up being fake,
Yeah.
but not entirely, you know, like
It's just one of those things. Like it's always a special emphasis on the female character because like we don't get to see if Pinkerton gets to reform. You know what I mean? Like the supervillains never. I don't know. It's just
yeah. Well, and that's
yeah.
that is a flaw of the time.
Yeah, I acknowledge a lot of this is the times it was made. Also, probably a lot of like time and budgetary constraints in creating the episodes.
I just personally don't think it's fair to blame Blaze.
I don't think it's
Has
necessary.
done this
Yeah,
the best of all of them.
it's just this was the one that revealed to me was like, oh, because it going into the series, I didn't realize this was going to be like a trope of the series,
Same.
and like this is kind of with the episode where I'm like, it's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back.
I see.
Not necessarily that this one was handled poorly. Where I'm just like, oh, I'm officially sick of this.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited for the next episode because I know that's not going to happen.
Thank goodness.
So,
but yeah, I guess before we talk about next week's,
yeah, we got to give a rating, right?
Yeah. So while I pull up that stuff, what do you think about Phosphase? What do you think about his, not him as a character, but his plan?
I don't think it was very good. I'm going to give him a 1 in my opinion for this one.
So he successfully stole that crown.
But as an inciting incident, like he's like, this is just the first step of my plans. But it factored into it at like not at all.
Yeah. So, and they like never get it back, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, which is kind of amusing in its way. I mean, we can assume that they did since they busted him and his crew. And Blaze cooperating with him, she might know where it spirited it away. But like, so the hard part of counterfeiting the money would have been like getting that paper. They obviously were getting it. You could just like counterfeit it.
Yeah. You know well, but he wanted legit bills.
Yeah, which is fine.
So like,
you can take $100 bill, go to a store and break it, like all throughout the city.
He still runs the risk of getting caught.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he is the man of many faces, so like he could just have a different face.
Yeah, I think you just play it. You just low play it. Like his whole like gimmick is like it doesn't apply to his gimmick at all, other than like counterfeit. But like it doesn't play to any of its strengths, which is like I can disappear into a crowd and be hard. And like his vehicle can do that too, and they like established that super early on.
Yeah, but also I think what you're suggesting. So first off, breaking $100 is hard enough.
I'm just saying, like in theory, that's something you can do. Like you could do a 20.
So yeah, but like he already had this thing that he could have sold for $1 million.
Yeah,
and he obviously like was making a much bigger play. Like Chief O'Hara, like, oh, you must be going after billions. So
I don't see how these things like connect to each other.
What do you mean? Well, the crown doesn't connect to anything.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Because at least when like it seems like the inciting incident doesn't really like connect to stuff initially, it does like with the Riddler's plans.
Yeah, if anything, he kind of just like tipped everybody off, like, "Hey, I'm going to do something."
Yeah, like it was an unforced error.
Yeah, like
if they didn't show up, they wouldn't know that it was Steven stolen.
Yeah, if he just went right to the bank and was like, "Okay, like I'm going to do this whole scheme,"
and like him giving Batman clues or like messages was extremely stupid because they had to include Batman into the counterfeit scheme. And B, like it let anyone know that he was like around doing things. If he wasn't doing anything, they probably wouldn't notice until the scheme was done.
Yeah, well, that's what
at least like Riddler, like they've mentioned, like that's his psychological compulsion. He's clearly like a mentally like off person in this series. So I do think
It's definitely not a 3. But I am torn between 1 or 2, and I just want to think about it.
I will think about what are some of the other ones we've given 2s to? Because we got to put them in context with one another.
So the Joker's plan to lure children into a false sense of security so he could blackmail them,
Yeah,
losing a basketball game. That's a 2.
mm-hmm.
The Riddler's initial plan, which was, what the hell was his plan?
I remember he started with he was going to get Batman framed for like assault and battery and sue him, but then I think he was going to steal that mammoth full of stamps.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a really disjointed plan too.
Yeah, and then Mr. Freeze's whole revenge plot was a 2.
Yeah. Did we give anything
Mad Hatter? We give a 1 to.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I do think Batman and Robin were on their toes for a lot of this. Did Falseface have any wins?
He got the crown.
He got the crown, which
served
no purpose.
He did gas Batman and Robin time to the tracks, but obviously that didn't work. It was immediately foiled right under his nose.
Yeah, through like impossible.
He replaced Chief O'Hara, but did nothing with it.
Yeah.
They got to the bank vaults to replace the money, but that was immediately foiled.
All because he parked in front of a fire hydrant.
Yeah, like all of his mistakes were really stupid.
Yeah.
And like completely on his own fault.
All right. Yeah, I'll give this guy a 1.
Yeah. Did we give anyone a 1? Yeah. So we only gave Mad Hatter a 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give Falseface a 1.
And again, these aren't ratings on the episodes, like in our enjoyment of them per se.
Because we just want to see.
Like the Joker Goes to School one, I really enjoyed. But
that I think is the best episode.
I think it's my favorite one so far. But his plan ultimately was pretty stupid at the end.
God, so disappointing. I wanted so much more from.
But it was extremely enjoyable to watch. So yeah, all right, we can do that there then.
Cool. All right, so 1 for Falseface. So I guess we can pretty much say.
Are we in the back half of the season now?
So let's see. We got 16 episodes, so 8 stories.
And I think we just did 8 stories, right?
Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Because this was episode 17, correct? No,
18? 17 and 18.
Yeah. And you said we have like 16 more to go?
So we this was our ninth story.
And we have 8 left.
Yeah. So this was the halfway mark.
Okay. Because it just for some reason it feels like we've hit a halfway point. Even though nothing about this episode really because there's no ongoing story.
Yeah. I mean, I wish there was in a way, but
I mean, it's fun that they've mentioned characters like Catwoman and stuff now, but I don't think they're intentionally like world building. And there's been ongoing
oh hey, you know this character.
There's been like ongoing elements like Crichton and stuff as the warden has come up. But it's also saying like Commissioner Gordon exists in like most episodes. Like, the character's just there, but they don't. The episodes you can watch them out of in any order. Obviously, as like a 2-part couplet.
But yeah, each story is standalone. And, that's probably for the best.
But... And for the TV at the time, that's how it was. And
yeah.
TV up until like now, it's still like kind of how it is. I mean, streaming's changed all that, but
I think that's it.
Yeah, I don't have anything more to say about Falseface.
Yeah. Until we meet again on the page, Falseface. I had fun. I liked the episode a lot. But yeah, we'll catch you here next week for
The Perfect Crime.
That's it. I wonder who that could be.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Find out next time. Next Bat time. Batcast time. Who knows? See you then, folks.
Bye.